Hey, this is Mira Beck, the founder of Overnight Success Studios and host of Overnight Success TV, coming to you with another episode from a little bit different set than normally. And that's because I'm actually on location in Miami. I just finished an event for my awesome client, Agency Sales Academy, and I'm here with one of the owners and founders, I guess, of for Agency Sales Academy, which is basically sales for you guys teaching sales and operations and all that stuff for
insurance business owners,
right? And we just wrapped up the event, big seminar, all that stuff, and I really wanted to do this in person, so I asked Keefe if he can join me here. So different setup than we normally have in the studio. Nevertheless, it's gonna be awesome interview, and thank you for tuning in. Keefe, thank you so much for hanging out for another few minutes with us. And for doing this live, otherwise we would have to do it on Skype and it wouldn't be the same. So first of all, we're gonna talk about leadership today, and that's gonna come in a few minutes. And so I just wanna let people know what the topic is. And it's gonna, so definitely stay tuned, because leadership is, we just talked about it. It's important whether you have a bigger business, smaller business, but it's necessary if you wanna expand, right?
Definitely.
So definitely stay tuned. And for right now though, what I always like to open up with is the story. Because no matter who is watching, they either have parents that used to be entrepreneurs and they got kind of born into this, or their parents were just the normal workers, factory workers, teachers, whatever, and they somehow stumbled across entrepreneurship and business ownership, and now they're in this game, but they have to figure it out on their own pretty much. So tell me about your upbringing. How did you end up doing what you're doing right now? What environment did you grow up in?
I wish I had entrepreneurs as parents, but my father was, he actually worked for the government. He actually was a social service worker, so he always worked for the state or the government. And my mom was a little bit of an entrepreneur. She was a personal trainer, so she had to do some sales, things of that nature, but a lot of times she stayed at home for a while when I was young. So I didn't have a lot of that. And I could tell when I was younger, I was a little bit different. I didn't feel like I fit in the mold. No, 9 to 5 was not for me. It was one of those things that if I'm sitting next to you, Mira, and I'm working twice as hard as you, when I was younger, I was very frustrated that we were getting paid the same.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was in college, probably the first taste of it I got offered what I thought was a great opportunity, which everyone else thought I was crazy, but it was my first summer after my freshman year in college. I got to sell books door to door.
Oh, wow. So you did that, huh?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was at University of Arizona. The deal was you got to go out for the whole summer and sell books, but you got to go to Ohio because they didn't want you, and they wanted you on the other side of the coast. They didn't want you anywhere close to your family, so that you basically couldn't bail. So I remember going out there and they saw this, like, this is gonna be the greatest thing ever. You're gonna make a ton of money. I was like, man, I'm in. So I tell my mom and my dad, this is what I'm gonna do. And my mom thinks I'm joining a cult. But I said, they said, you can't do it. You're gonna fail. Just come home. And that's the first time I learned that that's what drives me. If you say I can't do it, then I'm gonna go ahead and try to do it. Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
So I go out there and learn the sales training. They tell me all the money I'm gonna make. And when we get out there, we're gonna have families that usually host people. So I get out there, they take us a week of sales training in Nashville, and then we go to Ohio, we're driving there, and as we're pulling up into Ohio, the lady who is basically my sales manager tells me, "You're homeless." I said, what? I'm homeless? What do you mean I'm homeless? And they said, you gotta knock on doors to find someone that's gonna take you in for the whole summer.
Oh my God.
So think about this. I got no money, I got no home, I gotta just figure this out. So luckily, me and a couple of my buddies, we just kind of spread out, and a guy at a church in Youngstown, Ohio took us in and let us have the basement. But that was start of one of the most brutal 3 months, selling, knocking on doors from 8 a.m. to 9 at night, 6 days a week. And we started with a group of about 120. By the end of the summer, there was only about 18 of us left because everybody quit.
Yeah, sure.
But that's one thing that I learned, what Og Mandino says in his book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. I will persist until I succeed. So I sucked for probably 2 months of the 3 months. And then I got connected. I asked my sales manager, I was like, can I follow somebody that's really good at it? And she said, yeah. So for a day, I watched this guy, and he just went like an animal. And I saw what it took. And then my last month, I made 10 times more my last month than I did the previous 2 months.
Yeah.
And I think that gave me the idea that at some point I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
That's really cool. I was wondering if there's a happy ending to that story when you started about the book. What kind of books were, I just have to
They
ask.
were books to help kids with their schoolwork. Now, this is a very difficult...
So now the encyclopedias and...
Similar,
you know,
but
yeah.
so it was a very tough sales cycle. So I would go to your house, talk to you about it, and these were books to help your kids learn.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good angle.
Yeah,
However, you had to write me a check for the books in my name, because I put it in my account, and it was all legit, but it seems pretty sketchy. You just met me, you're gonna write a check to me, and then I don't give you the book right now, I deliver it at the end of the summer.
Yeah, man.
That is a tough deal.
Yeah,
but by the end, I learned the process, and I could walk out with 391.72, because that was the whole set, and I still remember that.
Wow. So was there at any point, because, you know, looking back, obviously you can connect those dots, but like, you know, Zig Ziglar talks about selling pots and pans door to door, and they talking about when you're selling in this environment, that really you need to figure out how many doors you have to knock on to make a one sale, then divide it by that number, and then you know how much each knock is worth, right? And that sounds like a good motivator for people to get discouraged, because sometimes, you know, you have to talk to 20 people to make one sale. So was your brain anywhere in that arena back then, or were you just kind of doing your thing?
Yeah, so I think at first I would knock and get rejection, and it would affect my next knock. So if I talked to you and you rejected me, then I would just be lower and lower. But when I followed that guy, what he taught me, he said something I'll never forget. He said, sales business happens one interaction at a time. So that you have to show up at every door like it's your first door. And I said, man, how do you do that? He's like, you take a deep breath, and if you're not ready, run around a little bit before you knock on that door. And I think I take that with life, that every business is about every interaction with each person. And we're really bad about being in the moment now with our cell phones, with distractions that we have. We're all looking for the new shiny object. But if you can be in the moment with a customer, it will have a tremendous effect, because you're actually present, you're listening, and you can give everything that you need at that time.
So that definitely kind of applies to every business though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like every business needs customers, right?
Yes.
So you're always gonna talk to customers. And it reminds me of a story I got from Bill Glazer one time. He talks about when you share your story, and when you share it, you know, 1,000 times, you kind of like feel like, okay, I've done this 1,000 times. I don't wanna. So you start, you know, taking out bits and pieces of the story. So one time he was saying, you know, I've told story about me meeting Dan Kennedy 1,000 times. But you have to go into it as if it was the first time, because of course the people listening to the story typically is their first time. So this kind of goes into the sales pitch too. Like you really should do the same thing over and over, same energy, same thing. If you have a system already in place, that's even better, because now you know, okay, it's proven. You know, you just have to deliver it enough times, I guess, to make the averages. But you know, hey, before we started this interview, I had no idea we're gonna be sharing stories like this. This is actually really cool. So now you done with your, that was college, right, you said?
Yep, then I graduated.
So what happened after that?
Double major, finance, economics. I felt like, all right, I wanted to go Wall Street. Like, yeah, this is my deal. So I started as a wealth manager at Merrill Lynch. And when you're young, like, imagine being 22 and you're going after guys that are 50, 60, and ladies that are in their 60s, 70s, and they've earned all this money, and I'm some young kid. And the minimum at Merrill was $250,000 was the account. I couldn't take anything less. And I can't tell how many times these old guys, older gentlemen or ladies would look at me and say, kid, I've spent my whole life getting this $500,000. Why would I give it to you? And I'd have to overcome that, and I'd just be on high sales mode all the time. I loved it, but what I didn't love was the hours. I was in Arizona at that time because I graduated from University of Arizona, and so I was in Tucson. So I had to go market hours. So I had to. I showed up. I wanted to show up early, so I showed up at 4 a.m. But then when do my clients want to meet? When they get off work. So I'm going 4 a.m. to 8, 9 at night. 6 days a week to try to really make it. And then we had our second child, and I would never see it. I would never see her. I would leave before she woke up, and I'd come home and she was already, going to bed. And I said, man, I got to do something different. And one of my clients, who I called him every Monday. He used to call me American Idol because I would call him every Monday during American Idol. So that was like his big joke. Every Monday for 6 months until I landed him, which is like a $5 million account, and it was like huge for me. But then when I found out what he did, every time I talked to him, he was 35. He sold this huge insurance business, and he never worked. I'm like, hold on. Time out. Okay, I'm killing myself at 100 hours a week. and I may be making like 55, 60 grand, and you don't seem like you ever work, and you are like, you got 5 mil, like,
Yeah.
tell me what you do, okay? Like, and so
cool.
that was the start of my insurance career. So he consulted on my first deal. So when I was 27, I bought what's called a mega agency in Texas. So I sold my wife, like, man, this is gonna be the deal. I'm gonna move the whole family. It's gonna be great. But apparently I started my business career, went like my book selling career, which at the beginning I just failed.
Yeah.
And I think I attribute it most to I was a terrible leader. So when I was at Merrill Lynch, I was kind of a solopreneur, and it's easy when you're on your own because you don't have to deal with anybody. You just got to work yourself. But what I realized when you run a business, if you want to expand, if it's just you, you can only go so far. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much you can do. And if you want to be great and have a huge business, you got to be able to delegate and grow.
Yeah.
So I bought a business and inherited staff, and the first 3 years were just nightmare. So I was a micromanager. I didn't understand why people couldn't move as fast as I could. I didn't really ever recognize people or praise them. I just said, just get it done. What's your problem? Like, why aren't you moving as fast as I can? So that's probably why I had to hire and fire 26 people in the first 3 years.
That's
you know.
So I just have to so it feels like you're saying exactly what I've been through, which makes me think that there's gonna be a whole bunch of people watching this that are going through the exact same thing. So thanks for sharing that, because now at least, we all know that we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
But so how did you get through that problem or challenge, I should say?
I think the first step is, so during that first 3-year period, I lost a ton of business. It was just brutal. And we can usually go one or two ways. So the first way that I was doing that didn't work for 3 years was I would just blame everybody else, complain. It's the market, it's the people, it's everybody else. It was never my fault. And then I remember listening to Jack Canfield, I think it was a Success Secrets, and he said the first step to be successful is you have to take 100% responsibility for your life. Meaning you can't blame anybody, you can't complain. You are where you are because of what you have done and you haven't done. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, man, so I suck at business because I just basically suck at business. It's nobody else's fault.
Yep.
But when you can look yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself, that's when you can actually make a difference. That's when you can actually make a change. So I got around mentors, and then it was obvious my big deficit was leadership. That was the thing that I was lacking severely, that I knew I needed to grow in. And because of that, fast forward, I grew that agency to one of the largest in the country, and I attribute a lot of it to the right leadership skills.
So it took you 26 people before you realized that, right? So how can we help people to?
Well, you put it like that, it doesn't feel as good, but yes.
No, how can we help people to do it faster than 26 employees?
Yes.
So what are some of the maybe few tips that you would recommend everyone that's dealing with employees and or wants to deal with employees, so maybe they don't have to make any of those mistakes? Give me a couple of
So I give you one big one, which I think is not natural. So if my daughter comes back from she brings a test back, right? So say she gets 97 right and 3 wrong. What do you think I used to look at first?
I'm gonna say the 3 wrong, because I do the same thing. It's like, how can we improve the 3 instead of praising them for the 97?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not coming from a bad place. It's coming from us wanting to get better and help them grow and help them improve. However, don't you think it's fair to probably at least give equal weight? Like, we can talk about the 3, but shouldn't I at least go, good job, 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 for the 97, at least recognize it? So what I realized in my business, what I was doing is we'd have a training, and it would be about asking for referrals or recommendations, because we all know that's one of the best lead sources for any business. Somebody does business with you, 1, you want to do more business with them, and then 2, you want to find other people like them that they can refer to you. So a habit you want to create is asking for referrals or recommendations. So maybe you're one of my sales producers, and I teach you that. And then the next time you're on a call, you don't ask for one. And all I used to do was just hammer you, Mira, we talked about this. Mira, remember the meeting? Earlier in the meeting, we talked about it. Why didn't you do it? Come on, Mira, get with the program. Because if you don't get with the program, you're not going to be here very long.
Number 27.
Number 27, you're out, right? Because I was just so trained, and maybe it was how I grew up or the culture and the environment, and I think a lot of us are in that type of environment, that we're just trained to look for all the things we can improve. And what I had to actively do, and I encourage every one of you to do, is go out and look for the good that your people are doing. Actually catch them in the act of doing something right, which is something I learned from John Maxwell. So if you want to learn leadership, John Maxwell's been a mentor of mine. I've been in his executive coaching program, Executive Circle it's called, and I've learned a ton from him, and he's got every leadership book out there. But to catch them in the act of doing something right. So here's the key: is you got to be specific. So you got to, I mean, at first I had to put times on my calendar, like, okay, 2 times a week, I'm actually going to walk through the office and just listen for what they're doing right. Now, the key to this, what I learned is you can't be just real general. So you can't, this isn't a high five session. It isn't like, hey, good job, everybody, high fives. Because if you do that, it could backfire. You could be my top producer and I say, Mira, awesome, good job. And in the next breath, I'm giving a high five to Susie, who comes in late, who eats at her desk, who's rude to everybody, who everybody knows there's a cancer in there, and I tell her good job, then the whole culture is like, he doesn't even know what's going on in here. So the key to that is be real specific. So you have to really identify the behaviors you want to see. So a lot of complaints I hear from agency owners or leaders is my staff or my team is not doing enough activity. So for sales, maybe they're not calling enough, or insurance industry, they're not quoting enough, they're not doing these activities. So what I encourage you to do is really recognize the activities that you want to see and reward those activities that you want to see. So from a leadership standpoint, especially in sales, sometimes you got to recognize the activities more than just the end result, because we all know that activity leads to results. So if whatever you want to see in your business, whatever activities or other things you want, if it's a tone that you want them to talk to a client, or the way that you want them to onboard somebody or just treat your current clients, if you see something happen, then you have to recognize them, because then they will reproduce that behavior that you really want.
Because I know that you are really, really big on hiring.
And
you do it all the time, whether you need people or not. I think you shared a story about that you would rather work on the floor and give up your desk if you find the right person, right? So can you give people maybe a tip or two on hiring the right people so you can actually have a team to lead?
Right? Definitely. So this is a big thing we talk about, and I hear it from everybody else. I can't find good people. There's nobody good out there. Nobody wants it as much as I do. Well, let me give you a news flash. If they wanted it more than you'd be working for them. Okay, so you're gonna have to go ahead. They're not gonna be as motivated, as excited as you. You're the leader, okay? But there are people out there. So I would say there's 2 attributes you really want to look for someone that will be successful. One is drive. They got to be hungry. They got to really want it. And how do you figure that out? Obviously, is the question. So there's tons of different personality tests out there. The one I use is a company called Ideal Traits that will help you figure out, do they have a high drive? Because that's one thing. I can't teach you to do push-ups. I can give you the plan. If I was, if I was your trainer and I'd say, all right, Mira, here's the deal. Everybody knows what it takes to be just ripped and have a good body. Like, you got to work out and eat right. Everybody knows it, right? But very few are that way because you're not willing to follow the plan. And that's just drive. So what I'm looking for, and the only way to find that out, that's a personality thing. Are you driven to just follow the plan? And then the second part is, are you coachable? So can I find out coachability? So if you're driven and you will take my advice, and same for you leaders, so that's what you want, somebody that's driven and just to follow your lead. And if you can find people like that, and you do those with personality profiles, and also big are references. So that's probably one of the biggest keys of hiring, is, and it's overlooked all the time, is references. People say, oh, did you call references? No, they're gonna say good things anyway. Don't even worry about it. 2-3 minutes, you go, hey, how were they? And you're calling their mama, their cousin. That's not a reference. A reference is somebody that they used to work for. And my father, even though he worked for the government, he ended up having like 1,600 employees underneath him. So he gave me that tip, that when you're calling a reference, he used to spend 30-45 minutes on the phone. And I said, man, what do you talk to him? He's like, I just build the relationship until they give me the truth. Because and the employee that you're getting, so if I'm hiring you, Mira, and and I'm thinking about hiring you, if I could get a hold of people you used to work for and they give me the truth, they know who you are. They know the real Mira, who I'm getting. And if I can get that real answer, then you're not going to change for me. I'm not that, you're not going to miraculously change all your habits and become a new person. But to get to the truth, that's what's going to make all the difference in the world. So
that's right.
Personality profile and references are two of the big things that if you can do those right, you will minimize the amount of, I would say I hate to say bad employees, but we'll say underperforming employees as opposed to high performing employees. And then the other key is never, if I was going to say number 3, never put yourself in a situation where you need somebody, okay? So what I did really poorly for a long time is I'd have somebody and I knew I needed to fire them because they were a cancer, but it was just easier to keep them because they knew how to do everything. So I just kept them along, but everybody in the office knew, no one wanted to be around them. They were just one of those people. And when I finally was able to get rid of them, then I'd hurry, oh man, I need somebody, right? And so I'd hire the first person that didn't have tattoos on their face and a nose ring, could speak in complete sentences. So the advice I would say is if you're always hiring and you have a +1 model, one person more than you need, people always think, well, employees are expensive. If you want to grow, you need to invest in your business. We just had Grant Cardone here when he was talking about, Cardone's $100 million business in revenue a year. And what he talks about is people don't think about the income, the top line enough, and employees are critical. They're vital to that. You can only do so much yourself.
For sure. And ideal traits, is that something that we can maybe put something under the video, link to that,
definitely.
whatever. And one thing that I was going to add to it too is don't let employees to keep you hostage in your own business. And that's really, I've experienced that before, and it's not a good place to be when you you just dread going to work and dread even doing anything. So that's awesome. So Keefe, just a little rapid fire. I know, it was a long day. So let's switch from the leadership and stuff to just few inspiring things, let's say, let's call it. First of all, overnight success, right? So it's a cliche.
Right.
You just talked about Grant Cardone. I think in his book, he was bashing overnight success. It doesn't exist. Well, in our definition of overnight success on this show, and in my mind, it's really the moment you decide to be successul. That's it, that moment. Everything else is just action results. It's a process. Unless you win the lottery, of course. I think it's $500,000, right? $500 million right now in Florida. So,
is that today? I need to. I'm at the
tomorrow.
pause,
I think tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Might have to get a ticket.
So unless you do that, then you're one of those people. The 1%er club and all that stuff. I always talk about how that 1%er is there's really probably only 1% of people that will ever get to the point where they can even make that decision. Right? So most people don't even know there is something called success and all that. So in your case, I always, on this show, I like to ask people about their personal definition of success, not some broad, whatever. But to you personally, what does success mean?
So I think it's kind of changed over time for me. For a long time, it was the metric, business success, money, how could I get the measuring stick. Now I think it more of legacy and how I'm going to be remembered. So I think for me, it first starts with, am I known as a good husband and a good father? So that's critical for me for success. And I think work-life balance for someone like me is very difficult because I'm a workaholic. If you let me go to work like today, we just like you, we can go all day. I've been up since 5 and going strong, and we'll continue to go 12 hours, 14 hours, whatever we can do. And I love that. I thrive off of that. But however, I always got to think about the balance. Who is most important? Because I could have all the money in the world, but if my kids don't know me and my wife divorces me, I think I lost that game. So success for me is my kids saying, you're a good dad, and my wife saying you're a great husband and you're a provider. So there's a good balance with everything.
That's pretty awesome. And I would bet that a lot of people watching this show, and it was including me, we have this warrior face, like you always just trying to work, make money, whatever. That's your thing. And I think it was Russ Whitney in one of his books that coined those terms. And then there comes in his book, it was like a statesman. Phase where you start caring about your life purpose and what really, why you're here to begin with, and all that stuff and all those questions. So if you know, young and fighting this thing and making a whole bunch of money, I think it's okay. Everybody goes through that phase.
Yep.
But there's some people that don't figure out the other phase till they're
Yes.
60, and some people, you know, get lucky enough to do it at 30. So whatever it is, just keep in mind that, you know, those are natural phases almost, I would say, of life. So don't beat yourself up if, you know, all you're doing is making money, but be ready to understand that that's not it. And one day, you know, the time will come and you start having different questions.
Yes, definitely.
So your why, I don't know if it's related to your success, but why do you get up in the morning? Like you said, you can go 14, 15, 16. Why? What's your big, you know, life purpose at this point?
For me, I think knowing that I meant something. It almost seems like Steve Jobs when he said, "I want to put a dent in the universe." It seems like so big, but to actually know that you've made an impact on people and that they were better off because that they dealt with me. Like that's how I try to go into every interaction anytime I meet anybody, and that's just kind of a philosophy I've lived in life, that every single person, if we're hanging out or I'm with my wife or with a customer or prospect, that they said, man, no matter what the outcome of that situation was, that they were better off from interacting with me and that I can give everything that I have. It was, I think, Les Brown that said it, that I want to live full and die empty. Like I want to give everything. Like when you see me in the casket, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, he looks good. Like, dang, that brother he's done. He ain't got nothing left. He looked bad. Like, close it up, okay? Like, he's done, okay?
That's really cool. So. That's awesome. And I love that wife for sure. You already mentioned John Maxwell of top 3 books that everybody should read, and maybe more than once. Like books that you've maybe read that really the 3rd or 4th time you read it, it's still you were finding new things in it.
So there's a lot that I've, like, through time that I've done. So for me, like right now, if I was gonna say one, I'm gonna start with what you said with Simon Sinek, Start With Why, because I think that is critical. If you don't understand that, you won't be able to thrive when the chaos happens, okay? Because life's gonna go well for a while, but then when you're squeezed, it's kind of like grapes. You'll see what comes out, and if you're a good grape, it'll be some good wine, and you'll be a Napa. Or if you really don't have everything together and you don't know your why, then everything kind of falls apart. So having that why will keep you through the ups and the downs, really, because it's easy to be on point when everything's going well. When things go poorly, how can you keep going? So Start With Why would be my first. Simon Sinek, I like that one. A different one, which is a really easy read, which is called The Go-Giver by Bob Burg, and I really like that.
I love that book.
It's such a good book because so I know a lot of people, if you're on here, maybe you're not a big reader, that is such an easy one because it's a parable book. So you read the story and you learn through it. So I really like that book. And then a practical step-by-step, day-by-day, how do you get it done type book would be The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. So that's more of I would say the 2 first books are more why you do what you do, and then Darren Hardy's Compound Effect is like how you actually get it done and how little things will make a big impact. And I think that's when people look at creating huge things in life, it seems very difficult. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? And that book is the bite by bite, step by step, and how much little things you do every day can actually accomplish huge things. So if you mix the why with the how would be my 3. But
That's awesome.
But it's like picking your favorite child. Like I could go on and on about the
for
books
sure.
like.
I mean, and I know you love books and you wrote books and you know you read a lot of books, and I do the same thing. I got a whole room of books that I still need to read actually.
Oh, we all got a stack that we're still.
Yeah, I just love books, but so that's cool. Those were really good tips. How about people? What maybe top 1, 2, 3 people, mentors, people that affected your life early or now?
So Les Brown was,
Brown,
because for me, I love speaking, and that's one of my passions. And he's always spoke to me. So when I was going through tough times, he just spoke to my heart, and I love that. I actually got to speak in front. I've been trained by him. I got to speak in front of him. I actually got to give a speech in front of him that he critiqued, which was amazing. So Les is one of my big guys, and then John Maxwell is from a leadership standpoint, from being centered with Christianity and God is just he gives me something that I need
Yeah.
every single time. So if I was going to say top two, those would be my
That's
top
really
two.
cool. And I have follow-up questions for you on this one because I know between these two, you were involved with other people. And one thing I've always admired about you is the commitment and the intensity you go into this. Like, okay, I'm gonna coach with this person. You go like all in, high-end mastermind, high-end
Right.
this, everything that you can do.
Right.
So I'm sure there's a benefit to it. Otherwise, you
yeah.
wouldn't be doing it over and over, right? So, what is the difference between just picking up some audio program or something going light versus diving as deep as you have?
I think it goes back to why wouldn't you, right? So you'll go to a program and you'll see, oh, you could do this for $50 or you can do this for 30,000, and everybody has the fear of, well, I can't spend 30,000 because they're thinking about it the wrong way. It's, do you play life on offense or defense? And a lot of us, so when we get into fear mode, we start playing life on defense. Like, okay, how much money can I save? How can I cut here, here? You don't grow on defense. You grow by playing offense. And man, business and life is risk.
Yeah.
And what I never want to do, I'd rather play a big hand and lose it than 20 years down the line, look back and regret to say, man, I should never even played a hand.
Yeah.
So fear of failure, I think, is something that I think we all deal with. I've dealt with it for a long time. I think that's natural. But to be able, to have courage isn't like lack of fear. It's being able to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great one too. And it's with making like go into everything being okay if it fails, right? Isn't that the mentality? Because if you don't and you fold after you lose, just like in a casino, whatever, for lack of better examples, you lose all your money and then what? You go and there's suicides, there's, losing everything you've had, there's people going depressed, becoming alcoholics, all that stuff. I always thought that usually happens because they were not okay losing everything or losing to begin with. So failing forward, learning from your, experiences, mistakes, whatever you want to call it, and just moving on to the next thing and not dwelling in the past. I think that would be one big takeaway from this, because the opposite, the other dark side, whatever, that could go, pretty wrong. And if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, like you're gonna
fail. Like it's gonna happen.
Exactly, it's inevitable.
So,
but yeah, feel the fear and do it anyways. That's awesome. And then for you, then I'm assuming. So this is my assumption. Tell me if I'm wrong. You pick the mentor, you dive deep because you're gonna take something to implement in your life or your business life. Once you have that mastered, you figure out, I guess, what other skill do you need in your business or what can help you the most to take it to the next level, and then you find that mentor and you dive deep with them, right? Am I kind of right? Okay. So are you looking for a mentor as advice? Pretty much analyze your life, what do you need, whether it's personal, business, finances, relationships, whatever, and find somebody that's good at it, like you did from day one of your story with the books.
Definitely.
Show me somebody who does it successfully, and let's model it.
Yeah, why would we? Here's the thing, sometimes we think we have to figure it out all ourselves. Somebody's already figured out your problem. They already have the answer. All you got to do is find that person and go ahead and swipe and deploy. It's okay. And here's the thing, people that are massively successful want to help you. They want to give back. Like for me, because I've gone through ups and downs in the insurance business, somebody that's brand new, like I love to help them. Like I will say, don't do this. I got at least 10 don't do that, because they say experience is the best teacher, but experience is just an expensive teacher. So learn from somebody else's experience and not have to pay the price of that failure. But also going back to failure, you're gonna fail faster, fail more, fail exponentially. Like hire people and have them fail. But that's the only way that you're really gonna have massive success.
That's really cool. So let's wrap this up. Give me one more quick little nugget about relationships. If just one quick thing, how to make your relationship with your family, with your wife, work. What do you do?
I would
on a regular
say,
basis,
so where I've failed, because I've failed a lot. So I think when we talk about failure, it's you either win or you learn. That's the way I look at it. It's not win or fail, it's win or learn. Okay, so when you win at anything or you're doing something well, then you don't learn anything, right? Because you did it right and you have no reason to look at it. But when you fail, that's where the lesson is. So there's been times, because I'm a workaholic, that I've learned that the big problem was I'll work a lot, but then when I come home, I'm still thinking about work. And then if there's problems at home when I'm at work, I'm thinking about home. I just can't live that way.
Yeah.
So wherever you're at, what I would say is take a deep breath and just be present.
Be present.
Like, can you be in this moment? Like, we're here right now, you're here right now. Like, let's just be here right now. And that's how you have the biggest impact and connect with people the most. So if you're with your wife or husband or kids, be with them. So like, we were at home, I remember this one time, and like I was doing, should have been done with work, but I wasn't. And my daughter was like, come play with me. And my wife was like, will you just focus on her? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And all she wanted to do is run out and play in the rain. And that's an ultimate in the moment. Like, you're not doing anything productive, but it was like a moment I'll never forget, that we were out there just running and playing in the rain. And sometimes that's the biggest joy in life, is just being, like, actually living. So I've focused on the future so much. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, we think about goals and where we want to be, but you can't live in the future and you can't live in the past. This is all we got right now. So be present.
That's really good. So yeah, that's actually, I'm not gonna even go any further. I got a few more questions maybe for you, but this was really great takeaway. So Keefe, thank you so much. The last thing I wanna share, or let you share really, is first of all, what type of people should be considering contacting you, and how they can contact you? I'm talking your speaker. So if somebody's watching and does that seminar, that's my big business. Do you speak, and what topics? How can people connect with you on that? And then is there anything else, if maybe somebody either is insurance agent owner, or they know somebody in their circle of friends or family, how can they get in touch with you?
So there's two things. One, if you're an insurance agent and you're listening right now and you want to grow your business, I'm a co-owner in a company called Agency Sales Academy. We just had a big event. Grant Cardone was here, Tim Grover, and we created it because me and my partners have similar stories where we failed before, and we wanted to create a community where we can help you through those challenges and help you grow your business 10x. So Grant Cardone's actually a business partner in this, and so we do sales training and other things for your business, give you processes, show you how to hire, create the right environment, maximize revenue, and give you all the processes you need. So if you're an insurance agent, check out www.agencysalesacademy.com. We have live events, and we have some ongoing training. Speaking, I speak mainly on sales and leadership. So if you're looking for one of the keynote or workshop at one of your events, you would find me at keefespeaks.com. And the first name, it's misspelled correctly all the time, but it's Keefe Speaks, SPEAKS.com.
And we'll put the links and everything on the thing, so people can just click on the link.
Great.
And now they have to hire you to speak to find out the whole story about the Mexican prison and all that stuff?
They do, or buy my book, which is on my site.
There you go.
Why are you gonna you have to tell that story? I could get away without the Mexican prison story, but yes, it's a good story. You'll want to read it.
Hey, get his book and
first chapter.
There you go. Yes. There you go. So keefespeaks.com. Keefe, thank you so much.
Mira,
I really
pleasure,
appreciate you. And for you, I hope that you got something out of this. I always say this at the end of each show: if you listen to this and didn't do anything with the information you got, then you obviously just wasted your time. And Keefe and I had fun, so obviously it doesn't hurt us. But remember that the difference between success and failure is implementation. So pick one or two things you just heard, take one of the books, whatever you want to do, just do something about it. So till next time, wake up and be successful.